All right, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, mercy of the transmitting masters for having this opportunity to talk about or discuss this, the scripture from the Iowa Dharma class that we had a few weeks ago. Okay, I think you probably all have a copy, right?
We're still making, we're missing 8.
Oh, okay. Well, it's also on the screen up there. You can see that. Okay. All right. As with any Dharma class, I think, well, most of you have been, except for the two new people. Okay, you haven't been to a Dharma class. But a Dharma class, again, it's not your normal, I mean, some people call it like a Tao seminar, but it's more than just a seminar. Okay, it's not like people just talking, okay? So there are also Buddhas and saints present, and they are also helping. And in fact, during the Dharma class, there's channeling where the Buddhas channel, and they also teach us directly, okay? So these are the scriptures, transcribed of what they said or what they wrote, right? So this first one is by the chief examiner of 3 realms, okay? It's through a sand writing, okay? That form of channeling where they write on a bed of sand to write, and then those words are announced, okay? The chief examiner of the 3 realms, he's in charge of the Dharma class, actually. He's supervising the Dharma class, okay? So at every Dharma class, he always is the first one to channel in and to give us some teaching, some message, all right? So this is what it is. Okay, so he starts off, let's see. All right. Okay. So basically, it's like a poem, okay? So it starts off with like these four lines of poems. Says, the Tao is propagated all over the world. All souls climb aboard the Dharma boat. All right? Faithfully accept and obey the truth. With diligent practice, one gradually becomes adept. Sincere and upright intentions, profound virtues. All right? Constantly self-reflect and focus inwardly. With faith and confidence, one definitely can transcend life and death without worry. Okay. So this is kind of like the main theme of what he's going to say, what he's going to talk about. All right, so right now the Tao, we live in a time where the Tao is now propagated all over the world. Okay, so it's not like before, let's say 100 years ago, where the Tao, we talk about the Tao. The Tao is the truth, okay? It's the essence behind the religious teachings, okay? And that is, it's now available to everyone during this time. 100 years ago, it was not. You had to be, cultivate. I mean, the form of learning and cultivating is different back then, okay? So back then, we had to be, basically, you had to dedicate yourself to it completely, like become a monk, okay? Like you go to a monastery or whatever, and you cultivate. And you spend your whole life doing that. And even though you did that, though, you may not necessarily reach enlightenment, okay, become awakened, all right? So there's something which will be mentioned later about enlightening master. We need an enlightening master to awaken us, to transmit that 3 treasures to us, okay, the Tao. But today it's different because of you can say the timing of everything, okay? So we're nearing the end of the cycle, okay, of this whole cycle of the world. And so the Tao is now available to everyone. Everyone can receive this Tao, receive the 3 treasures, even though we're not enlightened, we're not, maybe we haven't cultivated yet or not as well. But we can first receive the Tao, receive the 3 treasures, and then we learn in the process, then we learn to cultivate. And this is, the biggest chance, great opportunity for us to transcend. The ultimate goal is to transcend the cycle of life and death, reincarnation, right? So that's what Buddha was seeking, and that's exactly what this is all about. So anyways, that's just a little bit of background. All right, so now the Tao is all over the world, right? It's basically spread all over through pretty much every country in the world. Although it's not like the way religion is spread, where it's open. Even though the Tao can be spread to anyone, well, it's not just anyone. It's people who have that affinity, right? So they have that connection with the Buddha from past lives, or that there's that connection. And that's why we don't advertise, we don't do any of that stuff, right? So for you to find your way here, it's not it's not easy, okay? So it's because you have that affinity that you found here. Either, by yourself you saw something, or someone introduced you to come here. Okay, those are the only two ways, right? So it's something special. And then so all souls climb aboard the Dharma boat. Basically, now's the time where we see there are a lot of calamities in the world. So the Tao, the purpose of the Tao is to save people, all right, to save the world. And so the Dharma boat is basically like the temple, okay? The temple is what we call the Dharma boat, because coming to the temple or getting on this Dharma boat, that is, you can say, it's like the lifeboat, okay, to save us from the calamities from this world, okay? So that we can get to the other shore, right? That's the metaphor they use, to get to the other shore, the shore of enlightenment, all right? Okay, so faithfully accept and obey the truth. With diligent practice, one gradually becomes adept, all right? So the truth, right, this Tao, we call the truth, the principles that we teach, that we talk about, what Buddha talked about, what Jesus talked about, all the saints and sages, they all talking about the truth. But the truth, the absolute truth, the universal truth is very hard to talk about, to describe completely, okay? So that's what all the religions, they try to teach us about that truth. But there's no one way to talk about it. There's no one way to say it, okay? It's not like you say, I can say it in one sentence, this is the truth. I can't do that, okay? That's impossible, because the truth is beyond words, okay? It's the essence. It's the essence. And so we have to ultimately, all the teachings just point us towards that truth. And we have to realize it ourselves, what that truth is, okay? Realize the truth, okay? Through the guidance of their teachings of the Buddhas and saints and sages, all right? So, but once we understand, yes, we have to have that faith, right? To believe this, and then to follow through with it, to basically to realize it, to become awakened, to become enlightened, right? So then once we do that, then we obey, we follow this truth. Okay, and then we practice. We have to learn these principles of the truth and apply it in daily life, okay? If we don't apply it, then it's just knowledge for knowledge's sake, which it's useless, okay? So it has to become useful. We have to apply it in our daily living, all right? And then so we gradually become more adept, more, better at it, right? Because maybe a lot of the principles kind of, you can say, are because of our habits, because of our what we're used to, the way our thinking, our mindset, the way we view things, our perspective may not be in accordance with the truth. We might think it's contrary, it's different, and so we're not used to it. So it takes time to try to get used to the right views and the right understanding, which this is part of what Buddha talked about in the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. All right, so we have to understand that, what the truth is, and then gradually change our ways, change our views to be in accord with that truth. All right, and with faith and confidence, right, we can definitely transcend the life and death without worry. So once we can do all that, then we have that faith and we have that confidence that, yes, we can definitely transcend life and death, right, the cycle of life and death. Right, this can be... at least our holy teacher, Jigong Buddha, he guarantees us that if we receive the Tao, we cultivate, then we can at least guarantee for 10,800 years of cycling in life and death. Okay, so, but of course, the more we do, the more merit we have, the greater our virtue, then we can transcend even longer. All right, so okay, all right. So then, let's see. He goes on to announce, right, all the Buddhas and saints, when they channel, they will announce themselves, who they are, and they come with, okay, so he says, I'm the chief examiner of 3 realms by Lamu, or God's decree. I come to this bustling world, right? Entering the temple, I invisibly make obeisance, which basically do the kato, the bowing to Lamu, and ask if all brothers and sisters are well, rest at ease and be tranquil. Okay, listen to what I have to say, all right? Okay, so now, basically, he's going to be expounding upon those 4 lines that he just mentioned earlier, talked about earlier. Okay, so the destiny of the white era is at hand, right? Seek the truth without delay. And let me do this. Okay. Okay, so enlightened masters come to this world with heaven's mandate. Those who have affinity can receive the point transmission. Okay, so just like mentioned earlier, the destiny of the white era, we are in this white era where the Tao is openly propagated. Those with affinity, anyone with affinity can receive the Tao. Okay, so those who have that affinity, they are encouraged to seek this truth. Okay, don't delay, because once we miss this opportunity, we don't know how long we have that's available, right, for this Tao to be propagated. And so once it is available, we should seek it immediately. Don't delay, because once we miss the opportunity, if we miss it, we might meet with calamities, right? We have no idea. Life is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or even in the next minute. So seize the opportunity, seize the moment, all right? Enlightened masters. And so because there are enlightened masters, okay, we know our holy teachers, right? The patriarchs of Tao, our Jigong Buddha, Yahweh Bodhisattva, they have a mission to propagate this Tao. But, and they do that through what we call the transmitting masters. The transmitting masters have that mandate, okay? So this mandate is very important. Without this mandate, we cannot receive the Tao. And so anyone who has this affinity can come and receive this transmission, okay, of the Tao. Okay. Let's see. All right, so natural and man-made calamities are a warning. Right? We must use our rational mind, or wisdom, you can say, to deeply ponder. One cannot rely on wealth and status. The only way to transcend is to rely on proper knowledge and understanding. Okay, so we can see in this world that there are, many various forms of calamities, disasters, whether it's natural or man-made. But these are all, the common view is these are acts of God, right? But it's really all caused by people, okay? Caused by people, okay? So we don't see the cause, we don't see it, but it's been planted many lifetimes ago, right? These causes. And we are just seeing the effects, the consequences today, right? So, and that's why I guess you can say there's this element of faith, right? We have to believe that. If we don't believe, we can be a nihilist or existentialist, say, I don't believe, anything in the past or in the future, just now, then you're not going to understand that. But there is a causality. There's a cause and effect relationship to everything. And so everything is based on that. So everything that happens, there is a reason. There's a cause behind it. It's just that we may not see or understand that. But we have to realize, based on Buddha's teachings, that, he did teach us that, basically what we do, what we've done, whether it's a good thing, if we've planted a good seed, then you get a good result. If you plant a bad seed, then you get a bad result. Okay, so that's basically what we are seeing, the effects of that. All right, so we have to understand that. And we can't rely on wealth and status, right? So even the richest people, wealthiest people in the world, right, in terms of material wealth, like a Bill Gates or a Warren Buffett, right? They're worth, I don't know, 70 billion, 80 billion dollars, right?
Steve Jobs.
Or, well, he's worth less, but he doesn't even count. But now it's like Jeff Bezos, right? So he's now up there. He's probably like number 3 or number 2 even. Even though they are worth so much materially, that cannot save them from death. That cannot save them from illness. Okay, it cannot save them from calamities. All right. Yeah. But, did you have something?
I just noticed I was in the Amazon jungle and Bill Gates arrived after a plane, and he and his wife went up the river with 2 gentlemen in these yachts, these boats, and they were building. They call it the swaddling cloth of protection. They were building it's supposed to be the safest place in the earth. Was in the Amazon, but you can't be safe.
Yeah, there's no physical location that's really safe. Okay, so even if you think, you build a bunker inside a mountain, you're not going to be safe from other things, from your karma. That's not going to prevent you from, you can't run away from the karma. You can't escape it. Okay, so So even that. So
You can hide, but you can't.
yeah,
Right? Right?
yeah. Okay, so it says then the only way to transcend is to rely on the proper knowledge and understanding, right? The Four Noble, understand the Four Noble Truths. That life is dukkha, life is suffering, okay? So, and then that suffering is caused by our desires and attachments, okay? And then that there is a way to end that, right? And that way is basically, through the middle way or the Eightfold Path or this Tao, okay? So so understanding, having the proper knowledge and understanding these true principles, then we can, help us, guide us in the right direction so we can avoid the calamities or at least pay back our debts and so that we can transcend.
Yeah, the understanding part also. I mean, you said proper knowledge. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, proper knowledge. So that's the Eightfold Paths,
Yeah.
the four Noble Truths, all that stuff, right? Understanding of what also causality.
Yeah,
You have to understand that there is a causal relationship, that there's karma. In other words, you can say there's karma. So that's proper understanding. So if you know that, then you will understand. Yeah, I can run, but I can't hide. I can't hide from my karma. You can build the safest bunker, I don't know, wherever, you can build it in Antarctica. I don't care. For what? Say, hey, there's nobody there, right? So nobody's going to harm you. Well, that's no guarantee either, right? Because, right? So that's why, we should not pursue go down that path. Because that's not going to get you anywhere. So that's why that is so important, right? To understand that there is causality.
yeah. The causality goes beyond the material, the physical, right? So it'll follow us through many lifetimes, okay? Over, not just this one lifetime, okay? So no matter how many lifetimes ago, it's going to catch up to us, all right? So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so you continue here. Carefully uphold the moral ethics and conscience, right? Do not be led astray by external influences. Observe the unbridled or wanton behavior of common people, causing and suffering from the karmic consequences. Okay, so basically, so the way to, you can say, or the proper path for humanity is to follow the conscience, follow the true principles that are taught to us by the Buddhas, saints, sages, right? We always want to follow our conscience. Don't let the external circumstances, the external environment influence us. So a lot of times we use we're really enslaved by our senses, right? What we see, what we hear, what we smell, taste, touch, etc. Those are the things that lead us astray. All right, so we need to follow our conscience. So sometimes people, if their conscience is not strong or they don't follow it very strong, they see something they really like and they don't have the means of obtaining it legally, right? They might perform illegal means to get it, right? Or underhanded means to get something, and so stealing, etc. So we have to be careful, right? So follow. So that's why we have these ethics and following our conscience, right? Ultimately, our heart and mind, we should not let the outside world determine how we should behave, right? So just because people tell us one thing, we should follow it, or that most people are doing something that we should go along with them, right? So again, they may be going down the wrong path or doing the wrong thing, going against the conscience. And so if it goes against our conscience, then that's already a check. That's an internal check to make sure that we don't do the wrong thing. Okay. So we see that the common people, right? They're just going about doing things, following their desires, following their passions, and their attachments, their habits, right? They do all sorts of things without thinking about the consequences, or they don't realize that there is that causality that creates the consequences, and so they keep causing all these consequences, and then they have to suffer it, okay? But they don't realize that that's what's happening, all right? So again, this is, so once we understand that there is causality, that there is karma, that we will be more careful about not creating these. And then once we of course, what's been done in the past, we can't change that. And so we have to realize that whatever we're getting today is the result of that. And so we have to accept it. I mean, we can't say, well, we complain about that, then that's not really understanding the karma. Okay, so we have to be able to accept as well.
I'd just like to add one thing quickly. Sometimes it's very hard for people to believe that there's causality, especially for those who are doing a lot of good things in this lifetime, and they still have some misery and some suffering in their life. So they will think like this life is not fair, a God is unfair. But this is really from what they did in past lives.
Yeah, because the cause and effect, it doesn't happen, like things don't happen right away, the consequence. It could happen in the previous, I mean, it could be the current, yeah, sometimes they can happen in the current lifetime, right? But usually it's a lifetime or 2 lifetimes or 3 lifetimes later that the consequence occurs. So that's why, yeah, people, they may not believe it because they just don't see what caused it. So that's why there is that element of faith, yeah. But it is very logical, actually. It's very logical. I mean, even in the physical world, there is causality, okay? We know that, all right? It's a physical truth. And so why shouldn't this also apply to our spiritual nature, all right? All right, so, okay. All right, so without propriety, integrity, and honor, right? They blindly and stubbornly pursuing greed, anger, infatuation, and ignorance. Those are the 3 poisons. Okay, so those are the 3 roots of suffering, you can say, ultimately. Basically, so propriety, right, is what's proper, you can say, etiquette, or, all that, integrity and honor, right? So we shouldn't do things that are dishonorable. We should always be honest. So people, but they go against that, right? So they blindly pursuing, greed. Oh, I make money, I want more, or they don't control their anger. When people can't control their anger, of course, that just gets them into situations where they say things or they do things that they later regret, or they create these consequences, create karma, bad karma. Okay, so then they're going to have to suffer that later on. And then, of course, infatuation or you could say stubbornness or attachments and generally ignorance about the truth, about the principles, that just leads to the wrong views of the world, wrong views about reality, okay, what the truth is. So these are the things that lead us down the wrong path and to lead us down the path of suffering. Okay, so we have to, this is kind of a longer term view, right? So we have to take a broader view and a longer term view of things to see the overall truth. Okay, all right, so then he goes on and says, expecting brothers and sisters to establish a great aspiration, to uphold the moral principles of the 5 cardinal relationships and the 5 constant virtues, constantly introspect to enrich and strengthen the internal virtues. Right? Passing the test of temptation, life will naturally be more valuable or have greater worth. Okay, so the chief examiner, he's expecting us. He calls us his brothers and sisters to establish a great aspiration. What's that great aspiration? Right? Not to become the richest person in the world, not to become the most famous or most powerful, but to essentially to become enlightened, to become a Buddha. Right? That is the ultimate goal. Once we become a Buddha, we are free. We are free from all these sufferings, free from all the attachments of this world, right? So then we don't have karma. We don't have to come back and suffer, right? So that's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate aspiration that we should all have. But to get there, we have to uphold the moral principles, right? The 5 cardinal relationships, actually, that includes the 3 mainstays of society, which are 3 relationships, right? The relationship between ruler and subject, right? So like we're in a country, right? The 3 orders, or within the family, right? So, and then within the family, it'd be husband and wife, and also between parents and children, all right? So those are kind of 3 main ones. But then you also have among siblings or peers, and then also friends, okay? So those are the 5 relationships that we have. And we have to, so Confucius talks a lot about these relationships and how we should conduct ourselves within these relationships, okay? And then the 5 constant virtues also are, you can say, the basic principles of our original nature, our true nature, okay, our Buddha nature. And they are what? They are benevolence, right? Righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and faith, sincerity, right? So those 5 are the basic, what we call basic virtues that we all would have. It's just a question of how much do we manifest it, these virtues, and how much we nurture them. Okay, so we have to constantly introspect to enrich and strengthen these internal virtues, right? Rather than looking outward, rather than pursuing all these things that are outside in this world, right? The more we pursue of these outside world, the more attachment we have to this world, right? The more attachment we have to this world, then we cannot break free of it. We cannot transcend. So we have to let go, break these attachments, let go of these things of this world, and then we can break free and transcend, right? So look inward. Looking inward, introspect, self-reflect. Okay, so not just in terms of the material things, but when people say things to us or we encounter situations, right, dealing with matters that are not to our liking, etc., right? These are things that we need to, instead of blame or point the finger or look outward, and is to look within and to start saying, try to reflect and say, maybe, be able to gratefully accept whatever comes to us, and be able to say, to be grateful for this opportunity to change ourselves. Ultimately, cultivation is about changing ourselves, right? It's not about changing other people, right? We can't we can't become enlightened or transcend or become a Buddha by changing other people. The Buddha never tried to change anyone, right? We change ourselves. We have to change ourselves first, right? Once we change ourselves first for the better, if we then people will naturally follow us, right? They can see that we are virtuous. Once we have that virtue, we don't really have to say much, and people will follow us. All right, so that is the ultimate. All right, and then so passing the test of temptation, right? So there are many temptations in the world. As you can say, as civilization progresses, there are more and more temptations, different forms of temptations, right? Before the internet, there weren't all these other temptations, but now we have the internet. There are all sorts of new temptations that come to us. And so, especially when kids, they're young, right? They're all tempted by these things, and then so it becomes more difficult to teach them, right? Because you have to kind of control and not let them be influenced by these things. And so, but for us as adults also, same thing. If we can pass all these tests, not be tempted by all these things in the material world, then then naturally our life will be more valuable, right? Have the greater worth. So just like we talked about earlier about these wealthiest people in the world, are they really is their life worth more than any of our lives? Or is Bill Gates' life worth more than a homeless person's life? No, right? It's not measured by the external wealth, right? We all every living being has that Buddha nature. And so everyone is equal, has the same worth, right? But the greater our virtues, that is what's really makes us worth more, okay? So if we go down the wrong path, we go down the path of, crime and sin, then we've demeaned ourselves, we've lowered our value, our worth, okay? So ultimately, right, so you can look at a Buddha or a saint and sage, you can say, are more worthy or are worth more, you can say, than a normal person. So that is really, the true worth is inside, it's the virtues, okay? So that's why we need to pursue that in the inside as opposed to the things outside.
So very important to understand this is because the material wealth, right? Because personally, in today's society, world really, as a matter of fact, we're all partly emphasized, right? We all focus too much, on these external wealth, right? So that's how we measure people, right? And that's very misleading. That's going down the wrong path. Okay, that's going down the wrong path. Because why? external wealth is not everlasting. That's important to know.
Yeah.
You have to know this. You really have to understand that truly before
Yeah.
you can realize. And the reason why the internal virtues is more valuable, it's more precious, is because it's eternal.
Yeah, it lasts forever.
That's the key. So we have to just be able to understand that what's eternal and what's not eternal.
Right.
So material wealth, fame, status, power, whatever.
It's all temporary.
It's all
Yeah.
it's not eternal. Because why? Number one, you can't take it with you. Can Bill Gates take it with him? No. That's why he's giving it all away. Warren Buffett understood that. He's worth $75 billion. Is he going to be able to take $75 billion with him when he dies? He's like, what, almost 80 years old now? He's near that age. So he understands. So that's why he's giving at least half of the way, right? At least. So that's good. So at least he understands that part. But what can we take with us? What
Right.
can we take with us?
Right.
That's very important. Virtues. Our virtues. Okay? The good things we did. The good thoughts, all that stuff. All moral things, all that stuff. That we can take with you.
Right. Yeah. So right. So when we leave this world, right, we leave empty-handed. Of the empty-handed is the material things we have to leave behind, right? The only thing we can take with us is the internal, those virtues, right? So that is the most important.
Or merits.
Right. Or merits too, and our karma. Sometimes we take the karma too. That carries over too. But so that's why we need more virtues and merits to overcome the karma. We have to pay off our karmic debts, right? Okay, we can't do that with the wealth, right? The material wealth can't pay off our karmic debts, right? So that's also another thing. Okay, so all right, so we all understand that, right? Okay, so we can continue here. Let's see. Okay, so heaven and man, right? We assemble in this holy house or the temple, right? People carrying out heaven's work are truly blessed. Busy for the sake of ferrying sentient beings, be on guard and do not take it lightly. Okay, so this holy house, right? The temple, that's where the Dharma class is taking place. Everyone, we're basically carrying out heaven's work, right? So if we can help heaven perform whatever, basically to save people, save the world. That is what heaven's work is. And so if we are helping to do that, then we really are truly blessed, okay? As opposed, because this is doing things for other people, right? It's being unselfish, right? Any kind of material things that we pursue are for selfish reasons, okay? We're doing it for ourselves. So that is not heaven's work. Heaven is fair to everyone, and it's for everyone. It's not for an individual. Okay, so that's why we are blessed when we're doing this type of work. And then so busy ferrying sentient beings, right, to save, ferry, using that metaphor to get them on the Dharma boat to get to the other shore of enlightenment. All right, so this is something that we have to keep in mind, right? We should try to, ferry, bring people to receive the Tao, because that is ferrying them to the other shore, to saving their life, right? Not the physical life, but their eternal life, okay? So that's more important. And so that's something that we should try to, that's not something to be taken lightly. We're in the white era. The destiny of the white era is to do that. Right? It's not to cultivate ourselves and just ignore the world or ignore other people. Right now, this is a time where we need to save people. Right? Okay. And so cordial and amiable without being callous. Right? Maintain a heart of genuine sincerity. Reveal the original self or the Buddha nature. Right? Be a paragon of awe-inspiring and dignified manner. All right. So so we have to be friendly, to be kind. Be merciful, and so that's why we have to, when we treat people, treat them with respect, treat them with kindness, and maintain a heart of genuine sincerity, right? Ultimately, you'll see later on in the scriptures that sincerity is the utmost importance, okay? So we have to have that sincere heart in what we do. So remember the 5 constants, that last one, the faith, sincerity, that's central to all of it. central to our being, really. And so we have to be sincere, genuinely sincere. Okay, so we reveal that true nature, that original self, that Buddha nature. That is that true, sincere self. Okay, be a paragon of awe-inspiring and dignified manner, right? So when we conduct ourselves, or even when we're talking, anything, we have to do it in a dignified manner, right? There are like the awe-inspiring the four dignified poses or whatever, right? Of the Buddha or that, yeah, conducts, right? So we have to make sure that we aren't, too like informal or too casual sometimes, right? So when we're sitting down or when we're standing, when we're walking, we're lying down, okay, all these different ways we don't slouch, right? We have to be very dignified, right? Because we should be a role model, right, for others. If we're cultivators, we should set an example for others to follow, right? And so that will be talked about later on. All right. So let's continue here. Earnestly listen to and stay focused on the classes. First, get rid of mundane desires, passions, and affairs, right? With assistance from the truth or true principles, one's thinking will become more clear. Okay, so when we come to class, whether it's the Dharma class or regular classes, we should focus on what's being taught. Try to learn, and it says get rid of the mundane desires, passions, and affairs. Right. So when we come into the temple, actually the symbolism of wiping the hands is to leave behind all those mundane things, those passions, those thoughts of, whatever is out there, what do I need to do? I need to do these chores, or I need to do whatever, worried about what I need to do next. Leave those behind, because those are just going to be distractions and obstacles for us from learning what we're supposed to learn here. So just forget about those for now. We come to a place where we need to be calm and quiet and still in our mind and heart, so that we can absorb and learn what the principles, the truth, okay? And then once we start learning and understanding the truth or the true principles, then our thinking will become more clear, right? So the proper understanding, proper knowledge. So we gain the proper knowledge here, and also the proper understanding. So that comes gradually. Maybe, like I said, our views may not match currently with the truth or the true views, right? So we have to gradually come to understand the true views, and then so bring our way of thinking around to the truth. Okay. All right. Okay, so the important matter is to follow the way of the truth. Do not follow and be confused by the way of the false. All right, so I latch on to the true goal or objective of life. Only then can life's grand prospects unfold. So what is true? So we have to understand or know the difference between what is true, what is false. Okay, so the truth by definition never changes, right? The truth is eternal and it's constant. So, what is true in this world, right? Is there anything that's true in this world, right? All the material things, it's subject to change. So that's not true. So you can say that's false. So anything that we pursue, like we just mentioned, wealth, fame, power, all these things they're false because they don't last. They don't, right. There's a beginning and there's an end, okay? And it's subject to change in between. So that is all false and it's all temporary. So the truth is everlasting. And so the only thing that's the truth, right, is our Buddha nature, those virtues that we talked about, that is the truth. So we need to follow that, all right? So understand, we have to be able to distinguish that, be able to differentiate, and use our wisdom to differentiate, okay? So then that we can, once we follow the truth, then we are following the path of eternal life, all right? Okay, so latch on to the true goal. So once we understand that, then, that is really the true goal and objective of life, is to transcend all this, let go of the attachments, let go of our desires, so that we can transcend the suffering of this life and death cycle, all right? Then, even though that is the ultimate when we leave this world, but actually while we're still here, we'll have a better life. We'll have a more, we'll be more, you can say, enjoy life or be more happy in life when we can, we're not constantly pursuing all these things that are constantly changing in the world, okay? All right? So he says, I come here with heavenly decree to record. Our heart will be calm and still when we follow the rules and regulations. I will stop writing and stand aside invisibly and supervise. So finally, he ends this saying that he's supervising the class. He's watching over and recording every class member, not just class member, everyone in the class, our conducts, we're following the rules and regulations. If we're not, then we get demerits, right? So we don't want to have demerits because we may not even have enough merits to overcome them. So, right? Okay. So, all right. So that's the sand writing scripture. Any questions about that? Okay. So it's pretty clear. All right, so on that same day, later in the day, there was another channeling by two Buddhas, right? The Jigong Buddha, Jigong Living Buddha, and who's our holy teacher, the enlightening master, and also Guanyin Bodhisattva, okay? Avalokitesvara, okay? So two Buddhas channeled, okay? And then they also wrote a poem to start, saying that a pure, or actually literally it's a straight heart, is the true Tao field, or basically you can say that Tao field, all right, let me just read this poem first. A field of utmost sincerity and magnanimity. All right, build up a profound tolerance or magnanimity, forthright and sincere without pretense. Maintain the divine nature or heart for eternity. Okay, so what's that straight heart? That straight heart is a pure heart. Okay, it's basically one that is, you can say, it's very straightforward, right? It's pure. It's like a child's heart. Okay, very innocent, very non-scheming. Okay, so a non-scheming heart, right? Like a child, right? They don't really scheme. They don't think, how can I take advantage of other people or things like that, right? It's only adults do that, right? So we should not have that kind of heart and mind. So that is the true Tao field of cultivation, right? So it's really the true Tao heart. It's also the heart or the basically like the true cultivator, okay, is like that. And it's also like the Tao community, okay? So basically, as a cultivator, we represent the Tao. Okay, so it's not just, and we represent the temple, we represent the whole Tao community. All right, so that it's kind of all in one. So we have to be able to, just like we said earlier, conduct ourselves properly, okay, in society. All right. Okay, so again, remember we said that sincerity is important. The most important thing is the utmost importance. Okay, so having that sincere, that genuinely true heart, and being magnanimous, being tolerant, being broad-minded. Okay, being, truthful. We can accept everyone, inclusive, right, of everything. So being generous, right, all these things. That is it's basically unselfish heart. Okay. Not selfish, right? So that is really the true heart. We all have that. We all have that. That is part of our true nature, our divine nature, okay? So, but it's a question of whether we express that, manifest it or not. It's usually covered up by our human heart, which is subject to these desires and attachments, etc. Right? So we have to understand that and try to break free of that and reveal that true sincerity inside. Okay, so build up that profound tolerance, magnanimity. Okay, so again, like the Maitreya Buddha, happy Buddha, right? He's got a big belly, meaning he can accept, he can tolerate everything, and not like give rise to anger or not give rise to any kind of thought to want revenge or anything like that, right? So be able to accept, being able to tolerate everything. and being very generous. All right, so always being kind and merciful to everyone, no matter how people treat us or how we're treated in situations. Right, so forthright and sincere without pretense. Right, so it's very straightforward, candid, frank, honest. Okay, so upright. All right, so and so we want to maintain this divine nature, this divine heart for eternity, right? So we always want, that's the heart of a Buddha, all right? That's the heart of a Buddha. So that's what if that's our goal, to become awakened, become enlightened like a Buddha, then that's what we want to strive to achieve, all right? So learning to be able to let go. Ultimately, we have to let go of that ego. It's the ego, that's the idea of self, the subject-object duality, right? Self and others, that we distinguish ourselves from others. So by having that tolerance, magnanimity, we have to break down that difference, that barrier, right? We are all one. We are all the same, all equal, okay? All right. Okay, so then the Buddhas, they announce themselves, okay? We are Guanyin Bodhisattva and Jigong Living Buddha, coming to this temple with Lamu's decree and make obeisance to Lamu. Okay, worthy cultivators, how are you? Disciples, how are you, right? Guanyin Bodhisattva, calls us worthy cultivators, right? Actually, all, like saints, sages, Buddhas, they all treat us as if we are enlightened, okay? They treat us, with the utmost respect, because they see everyone as a Buddha, or at least as the future Buddha, okay? So, and then our holy teacher, of course, we are his disciples because we received the Tao from him, okay, from the holy teacher. So he calls us his disciples, right? Okay, so then this next section is a song that they composed, all right? So this it's a good song, I guess. It says, in this beautiful world, right, let love, we're talking about true love, fill the heart. Life passes, right? Life is in the blink of an eye, right? Cherish each and every affinity, right? Rain or shine, always look at the bright side of life. Because of firm and proper understanding and proper views, we will not hesitate and deviate from the way. Right? Persist in the simple faith or conviction and not be swayed by circumstances. Practice the truth or the true principles. Practice of the truth prevents grief and misery. Deep appreciation for heaven's grace. Lets me strive forward courageously. Joy of sincere dedication is never changing. This love is more complete. Smiling eyes, tranquil appearance, and balanced contentment. Right. So that was actually It's based on the melody is based on a song, which is a theme song from this. I don't know. There's some TV show, I guess, called "The Big Judge in a Small Town." Right. But anyways. Okay, so this song, let's see. All right, so, right, in this beautiful world, right, actually, I mean, when we view this world, right, this world is beautiful. Despite, some of the bad things that we see happen in the world, there's ugliness, we can say there's ugliness. Yeah, you can say when there's beauty, there's ugliness, right? That's kind of like the two sides of the duality, okay? But ultimately, we can view everything as being beautiful, right? That it depends on us, right? It's all in our heart and mind, how we want to view the world, how we want to view things, right? Our perspective. From the perspective of a Buddha, everything is just beautiful, okay? So, and then once we have that view, so that's the view, then we can follow through, we act accordingly, okay? So then that follows. Right. So then, of course, there's love. You can say compassion. Unconditional love. Let it fill the heart. So how we treat everyone, treat the world. But we see that life, is very short. Right? From the Buddhist point of view, it's very short. We think 100 years, it'll last a long time. But the thing is, we don't know how long we can live. Okay. So again, life is unpredictable. We don't know, when we're going to die. So. It can end instantly, right? So that's what it's saying. So we have to cherish every moment and also every affinity, right? All the karmas that happen, everything that happens to us actually is we need to cherish, okay? Because again, everything that happens to us is, you can say it's according to karma, it's according to our affinity. So it's whatever happens to us is basically what, you can say what heaven has given to us. It's just right for us, okay? So we can't complain, say, oh, I've preferred someone else, Bill Gates, his life, I prefer his life over mine. Well, he deserved his life, right? And I deserve mine. So it's we can't compare, our different lives in terms of the material, how we live. We have this material life. Okay, so that's again, it's all based on karma, our past karma, right? So we have to learn to appreciate it, appreciate everything, be grateful for everything that we do have. Once we can do that, so that's again that proper view, proper understanding, okay, of life. Once we can do that, then of course, then we won't suffer as much. We can be content. We can be happy, right? So if we're always complaining, feeling bad, oh, this life sucks. Why can't I have that? Then of course we're going to feel miserable, right? But that's self-caused, right? That's right now we're creating that misery for ourselves. But whereas we can turn things around, look optimistically or positively, we can say, hey, this is a good. This is like Yen Hui, right? He's one of Confucius's. He was probably the youngest disciple of Confucius, right? But he was the poorest, and he had nothing, but he was very content, very happy all the time because he understood the truth, and it was for him following the truth and living according to the truth is very happy. It was very happy for him. So we have to learn to be like that. So don't let these external things, don't let our situation get us down, okay? So always look optimistically, look positively, all right? So that can then change our attitude, then our life will be more, you can say, more worth living, all right? It won't be as miserable, all right? Rain or shine, right? Always that's what it says, rain or shine, look on the bright side of life, okay? So, it's always when things are good, right? We say, oh yeah, this is nice. But then when things are bad, then we start complaining. But actually, we should treat both the same way because both of them are self-caused again, right? So, of course, when things are good, we feel fortunate. When things are bad, we feel like we have to blame someone. But actually, we should be fortunate no matter what, right? Because we have this life, okay? We have this life. We shouldn't waste this life, okay? We should make the best of it no matter what, right? Again, because having those proper understanding, proper views, right? We won't hesitate or deviate from this way, deviate from the Tao. Okay, so understanding that's very important. That's why we do have to, that in the Eightfold Path, right? Proper understanding is the first thing. Proper views, proper understanding. Okay, so if we don't get those right, then everything else we won't get right either. So we have to understand those first. Once we get, that's the right proper mindset. Once we have the proper mindset, then everything will naturally follow. All right. So so persist in this path, right? And again, don't be swayed by any of the things that happen to us. We should actually take them as a learning opportunity, as an opportunity to improve, to elevate ourselves, right? To get better, right? So these are just challenges. We're faced with challenges every day in life, and we need to basically know how to overcome those challenges in a way that we don't create karma, that we don't want to create more karma, right? If we create karma in the process of trying to overcome a challenge, then we're just going to be met with more challenges, right? So we want to overcome these challenges and not have to repeat those tests and trials, right? So that's the wise, that's using our wisdom, okay?
Also from causality aspect, when we have one bad thing happening to us, it means that we have one fewer bad karma, right?
Yeah, I mean, once you can get over, get past one karma, then, that's done with, right? As long as we don't create another karma as a result of that, right? So, again, prevention is better than, constantly suffering. If we constantly create more karma, then we're never going to get out of this cycle, all right? So yeah, so once we practice, when we can practice this truth, follow this true way, then of course that will prevent grief and misery, right? Prevent the karma, prevent the suffering. Okay, so we have to have a deep appreciation for heaven's grace, right? Everything, again, like we're saying, everything was given to us according to what we deserve. And so, so we got it, and we should appreciate that. The more we can appreciate of it, the more we can be grateful, then we can move forward courageously, right? We can move forward in life and do good things, do great things with our lives, okay? And so what this also, being sincere and really dedicate ourselves towards this path, right? We have it really brings great joy, okay? And that joy is never changing. It's not subject to, so in other words, we won't be, even though we'll have setbacks, right? We'll have challenges along the way, obstacles, but as long as we have those proper understanding, proper mindset, and sincerity, we can overcome them, get through them, and we'll always, be joyful, right? And so this love, so that we have this compassion that we spread to, within ourselves, and we spread to the world around us, that will be more complete, more fulfilling, right? And so, and also, says we'll have smiling eyes, our appearance will be more, you can say, I don't know, brighter, right? We'll have a more tranquil appearance, and we'll have the boundless contentment, okay? So that's, it's a nice message in the song. But again, the main theme is, to follow that truth and to have those right, proper views and understanding. And we follow it, accept, understand that there is karma, that we need to overcome it, but do it in a way that's, again, having tolerance, magnanimity, compassion, all that. Okay. All right. So I think we have to take a break. All right, so let's continue now. This is what we call the marvelous scripture part of it. So the marvelous scripture is like a block of, it's a poem, like poetry. Yeah.
No, fast follows the classics format, classical format.
I'll show that.
7 words, 7 words.
So this is the.
Yeah, that's the marvelous scripture.
Okay, so this is.
It's really 7 and 7. It's 14 right, per column, 14 words, but 7 and 7. And then those 7 and the 7th character of each column, the 7th and 14th, they rhyme. 7th and 14th. So, Fang, Xiang, Wang, San.
Yeah, this
the seventh character and the 14th character, they all rhyme. I mean, you can read it here in the pinyin. You see it in the pinyin.
Right.
Fang, Xiang, Wang, San, Zhang, Dang, Cang, Wang, Liang, Bang. It's all rhymes. It's all rhymes.
Right.
A-N-G. A-N-G. A-N-G.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's the 7th one. Yeah, I know. Both 7th and 14th.
Yeah.
So that follows the classic Chinese
Right.
poetry. That's one of the formats, right? One of the forms, okay?
Yeah. So right, and then so the first half was composed by I think Guanyin Bodhisattva, and then second half was composed by Jigong Living Buddha. And then so within that you can see the red. Those are 2 Chinese characters, right? So the Zixing, which is the straight or pure heart, and then so the Chinese characters within the poem that are covered by those red lines forms another, what we call the scripture within the scripture. Okay, so that's what we actually went over at the very beginning, which, yeah, okay, but we'll all right, so that's kind of let you see what this is. All right, so let me go back to the start of this.
So page 4, the first 5 lines make up those two red characters.
Okay. All right, so we'll go through line by line of the scripture then. All right. So again, of course, based on those first 4 that we saw, the theme is basically those two characters, right? The straight or pure heart, right? So this kind of more talking more detail. Right, so a true heart is manifested with certainty everywhere. A heart that follows Tao that does not waver. Right. Okay, so let me see. All right, purity and stillness are not just with respect to outward appearance, and marvelous wisdom develops without thought. Okay, so again, what that true heart is, right? You can say the heart of Tao, the heart of a Buddha, right? It's manifested, it won't waver. Okay, so basically, no matter what the situation, just like we are saying earlier, it isn't influenced by the situation or circumstances. In other words, it's unconditional. Okay, it's the unconditional heart and mind. Okay, like of a Buddha, of an enlightened being, and so, unfortunately, as human beings, if we're not at that level yet, we're still subject to being influenced by the circumstances and conditions, and because we still haven't let go of our passions, desires, our attachments, our emotions, things like that, right? So those things, we haven't let go of our ego, right? So those are things that cause us to then be influenced, in other words, for us to be conditional, right? Depending on the conditions, and that's how we feel, right? So that's not the true heart, right? The true heart is very steady, it's very firm. It doesn't change based on situations, okay? So purity and stillness, not just with respect to outward appearance, right? So we want that purity and stillness inside in the heart and mind, right? That is that Buddha heart. It's unchanging. It's pure. It's still, right? It doesn't have emotions or things like that are coming, thoughts, giving rise to thoughts, right? All these things, right? So none of these arise, and so that's on the, of course, on the external appearance, we should also be, composed, but internally we should also have composure too, that purity and stillness, right? So this wisdom, we want this wisdom, this divine wisdom, this marvelous wisdom to develop. But how do we do that? It's not through thinking, not through our thoughts, not through emotions, not through passions, none of that, right? It just comes from a pure and still mind, heart and mind, okay? Because it's already there. It's part of our. It's a natural.
Buddha nature.
Yeah, it's a natural function of our Buddha nature, and so we just want to let it function. And so, but we put up roadblock obstacles to prevent that prevent that wisdom from coming out, because we are so strongly, you can say, tied to like our emotions and our desires and our thoughts. Things like that. So we have to let go of those things to have this natural wisdom come out.
So how do you get there? So some people use meditation, but that's only a start. Okay, so you have to be careful, right? So meditation, the whole purpose is just means to calm your heart and mind. So, or to put it simply, means to get rid of all thoughts. That's even better. So you don't even have to meditate. As long as you are able to get rid of those thoughts, get rid of those emotions, get rid of that. But so most people, we require meditation. You require method. You say method. So meditation is only a method. So don't forget, meditation is not the end to itself. It's only a means. Get it? Dhyana, right? Dhyana, concentration. Dhyana, meditation, samadhi, whatever. All right? So it's not an end. It's only a means. The key thing, the end is no thought. Okay? So, okay? No thoughts, no emotions. No three poisons, none of that, right? So that only then is what we call our mind is still pure, and then when that happens, your wisdom naturally will reveal itself. You don't have to think about it.
Right.
You don't have to think about it. Understand? There's no requirement for that's what this means. No conscious without thought.
Right.
Okay, it naturally will be revealed.
Right.
All right.
Right. Yeah, because the thoughts. You can say our thoughts, our rationality, our thinking comes from knowledge, comes from, comes from when we are perceive the external, right? But the the wisdom comes, it's naturally. Because our Buddha nature is aware, has great awareness beyond our senses. So we, by depending on our senses, then that's limiting. That's very limited.
Right.
So that isn't great wisdom.
It's not
Isn't
complete,
right.
Because depending on senses, or depending on, just even senses, it's
Or even
fundamental.
our imagination,
Yeah,
things like that.
imagination or experience.
Yeah.
You could say
Those are limited.
experience,
Those
right?
are all
A lot
limited.
of times we think of wisdom as through, book learning or experience, right? It's either knowledge or experience, right? Which experience, knowledge, experience is a type of knowledge too, I guess. Whatever. Okay? So that's limited, right? Because we can only experience so much, right? So much. So even that's not the true wisdom. Get it? So the true wisdom, that Maha Prajna, which is the divine wisdom, is infinite. You can say it's infinite. Actually, you can say it encompasses the whole cosmos. You can say that it's infinite. That's why I say it's infinite. It's boundless, boundless. And so therefore it can be applied in any given situation, any phenomenon, circumstance, or any conditioned circumstance, right? Conditioned realm, okay? All right? And here's another thing. All our knowledge, all our wisdom, book learning or experience has a beginning and end. It's not eternal. It has a beginning and end. So therefore it's limited. That's what I'm trying to say. Whereas the Maha Prajna, or the divine marvelous wisdom, has no beginning and no end. Get it? It's infinite. It's timeless. Maybe that's a better term. All right? And it's boundless. So that's why we want to get to there. And this is it's very counterintuitive, not counterintuitive, counter-rational. Maybe that's a better term, counter-rational. From the rational perspective, people say, no, I have to learn, I have to gain more knowledge, right? That's why Western philosophy, that's why their science is so advanced. Why is there Renaissance, especially from the Renaissance period, if you want to really dig down deep, it's based on reason, the age of reason. Rationalism is based on, I have to use thought. I have to use knowledge. That's why they say knowledge is power. From the Western, you ask the Western world, they all say knowledge is power. They all based on that. It's based on knowledge. Get it? From Buddha perspective, that's wrong. You're off the mark. Understand? So it's very contrarian. It's like contrarian. Get it? So we have to. That's what we're searching for. Because knowledge is limited. Even. Knowledge is infinite. You can go on forever, right? And you never learn everything. Right?
Yeah. The problem with knowledge, you can say it's an external truth, but it's not the absolute truth. Okay, so if it's not the absolute truth, then it's relative, which means there's no absolute. So it's no absolute right and wrong in this. So that's why when we are pursuing the absolute truth, the ultimate truth, it's not external truth. Okay, it's inside. So it's that self-realization of the Buddha nature. Okay. So, so the common person abides in false delusions, right? Taking the false as true and always busy for it or because of it or in pursuit of it, right? To not lose the original heart, we must thoroughly cleanse the human heart of defilements. All right, clear understanding can remove obstacles, providing boundless inner serenity. Okay, so the common person, right? They're pursuing all these things that they think, it's delusion, or everything that's illusory. They think that's real. Okay, they think that's true. But just like we said earlier, these are all, we say it's false because they're only temporary, they're subject to change, they don't last, etc. It's not the things that we can actually, that are eternal, right? So they're pursuing all these things, material things, wealth, etc. But we have to realize we all have this original, this true heart, this Tao heart, okay, the Buddha heart, okay. We shouldn't lose it. So, it's like losing our conscience, okay. So by not losing it, we need to cleanse, it says to cleanse the human heart of defilements, right? The human heart is subject to, right, human passions, human desires, all these things, the three poisons, whatever.
It's dualistic.
Yeah, it's all dualistic because there is a self, right? Because there's an idea of a self and ego, right? So that is subject to defilements, right? And so we have to get rid of that in order to restore or reveal that original, that true heart, that sincere heart, right? That straight heart, that pure heart, okay? So that's why we have to cultivate. That's what the purpose of cultivation is, to cleanse, purify ourselves, right? To let go of all those things so that we can bring out that pure self. All right. And then we can do that through, we have a clear understanding of the principles, clear understanding of the truth, to then remove these obstacles, right? Get through these challenges, get through these difficulties, anything that comes in our way, right? And then so we'll have, this boundless inner serenity as a result of that. Okay. So now the next line, actually, there's a correction to it. It's actually, I should say, right, the heart of thusness is truly broad and magnanimous, right? Maintaining it is grand and proper, right? This heart of thusness, I mean, it's all talking about this Buddha nature, right? So thusness is basically, there's no duality, right? Well, I mean, we always say it just is, but that is, it's very hard to describe that Buddha nature, okay? So that's why they use thusness. In Buddhism, they just say it's the thusness or suchness, okay? It just is. But there's certain qualities to it. So we all talk about the pure heart, the sincere heart. All these things are trying to describe that Buddha nature, that true heart, that heart of thusness. All right, because it's we can't describe it fully in words. Okay, but yeah.
Another way to understand that heart of thusness or oneness, you can look at it from two different perspectives. One is, we call it remember in the previous lines, right, it talked about the wisdom part, right, wisdom, right, there's a wisdom, it's basically that oneness, thusness, suchness, oneness, it's you can say combination of both. It has that essence, or self-awareness, or the truth, everlasting part, and the wisdom, you get it? So that's that thusness, that's the heart of the thusness, or oneness, which is our Buddha nature. Our Buddha nature has that quality. We say Buddha nature, people say, well, what's Buddha nature? It's heart, right? Heart. So you can describe that. It's the heart of thusness, or oneness. It has that essence, right? That essence, that you can say that truth, essence, or awareness, and the wisdom, which is the function. So that's the one. You get it? So actually, when you say 不离不弃, it's really if you really want to go in depth, right? It's that Buddhist terminology means, it literally means neither close, neither far away. Okay, it just means neither going, neither coming. It's part of the eightfold negations, but that's more deep. That's deeper. That's deep. Okay, that's more advanced. It means neither one or neither diversity. It means that too. Okay, but anyway, but that's more in depth. Okay, so that's one aspect. The other side aspect to understand it, to look at it, to view it, it's really similar to the Confucian doctrine of the mean. Because it's non-dualistic. Remember, non-dualistic doctrine of the mean means it's non-dualistic. It means the true path, the middle path. Literally means the middle way, which is the Tao, the true part. The middle, non-deviant, non-dualistic, neither one or the other. You get it? So that's another way of looking at it. Okay. So if you really want to go in depth, that's what those 4 words stand for. All right. So it goes really deep. Okay. So you can look at it from the Buddhism side, or from the Confucian side, all right? But they're both all describing that pure heart, true heart, or about Buddha nature, okay?
I think it also can mean, in Chinese, it will be 不动.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, you can say that. Yeah,
It's unmoved, it's unconditional, unperturbed.
Unperturbed, non-dualistic, non-conditioned.
Yeah.
Okay? It means all that. It
Right.
means all that.
Yeah, I mean the essence, right? It's the essence is really it's the life, it's the eternal life, the eternal light. Okay, and then you can say the essence and function, right? The function aspects, is the awareness, the wisdom. Those are all functions of that Buddha nature. Okay, so it's so marvelous. Yeah.
And then the awareness of wisdom.
Right. Okay, so all right, so it is all about the utmost sincerity in the heart, right? So that's the genuine magnanimity that is broad and vast. Okay, so basically, that sincerity, right? Confucius, he talks about that a lot. That sincerity, I mean basically that truly genuine sincere heart is it's like God. I mean, it's like Buddha. Okay, so we have to be able to get to that true sincerity, right? It's not just a lot of times, we say we're sincere, but we're not 100%. Okay, we're not really 100%. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. All right. So that 100% sincerity is really, there is no self. At that level, there is no self, no ego.
It's really that
Right?
oneness.
It's just oneness.
That's it,
One with
oneness.
everything. One
Yeah,
with
yeah.
all sentient beings. One with God. One with all the Buddhas. One with everything. Okay, that's just oneness. All right. Okay, so so like this, developing and manifesting the true Tao field cultivation results in an excellent future. Right. So by following this, understanding this, we follow that. All right. Understand that we want to develop those, is basically the internal, those virtues that develop that sincerity, that genuineness, then of course, then that will result, the excellent future. Yes, we can change our fate, our destiny in this life, but also ultimately the transcend, right? That's the ultimate change, destiny as well. Okay. Okay, continuous cultivation and refinement will not be in vain, right? Childlike heart following the true nature naturally with ease, right? So we want to continue once, maybe for a lot of people, they're just getting started. They're just learning, getting started in this cultivation. We want to continue along this path. We don't want to give up. We don't want to let these setbacks and obstacles and difficulties prevent us from moving forward, right? Because then it's we can't give up. If we give up, we're kind of wasting, the efforts that we already put in, right? So we want to continue this process of cultivation and refinement, bettering ourselves, right? Because that is really the ultimate goal. We want to keep moving upward, right? To become more enlightened, more like the Buddhas. And it won't be in vain, of course. The more what we put in, our efforts, our time, effort, sincerity, everything that we put in, we'll get a lot more out of it. Okay, so if we're not sincere, we don't put in any effort, then we're not really going to get anything out of it. Again, it's whatever you put in, that's what you're going to get out. So that's why we need to do as much as we can. That internal heart is that true heart is like that childlike heart, right? So it's following the true nature naturally with ease. So just like a child, they're very natural, right? Their behavior is very natural. So again, for us, it's kind of learned. We kind of have to learn to do it naturally. We have to learn the right way because of our habits, our way of thinking, maybe it doesn't align with that yet. So we have to change our habits, change our way of thinking so that it aligns properly, and then it'll become natural. Okay, so that's what we want to get to. All right, with a quiet and stable state of mind, right? Our eyes are bright. The heart lamp illuminates vast distance everywhere, right? So that light, right? I mentioned that we have this life, which is a light. Okay, so inside we have that light. Okay, it's not maybe like the normal visible light, but we call it a light, the light of life, or the heart lamp, right? Is that Buddha nature, right? It's very bright. Okay, so it can illuminate the entire universe, all the dark reaches in the universe. Okay, so if we let it, right? So we have to basically, just like we talked about earlier, get rid of the defilements, right? Once we clean this lamp, right, clear all the dust, all the defilements that are covering it up, then naturally that will reveal itself. The light is already there. Okay, so just like our wisdom, it's already there. So we let it come out. But it's not like we can say, command it to come out, right? We have to get rid of all the other stuff and for it to come out. Okay, so, but once we can do that, right, then that's that light, when it shines on everything, right, shine on other people, shine on sentient beings, then that's how it can affect them, influence other people, right? So that's why we should be like a role model, like a living Buddha, Bodhisattva, right? And everything that we do, everything that we say, that has a positive impact on people, have a positive influence. They can see our virtues, right, through our conduct. Then that will influence them and guide them in the right direction. Okay. Then so when we talk about it, then people will listen. Okay, so if we talk about things, talk about the truth, but we don't conduct ourselves accordingly, then they're not going to listen, right? So again, that internal, those virtues are very important, all right? So it is so great for this true master to be in charge and not be bound by the mundane world, right? So again, our true master is what? Our Buddha nature, okay? It's not our ego, right? It's not the sense of the self. It's not our senses, right? Those should not tell us what to do, right? So again, use our conscience, use our wisdom from our Buddha nature. That is true master. So once we can do that, then we aren't bound by this world, right? Because we won't be influenced by it. And so we can transcend ultimately, all right? So we won't create, because also we won't create, we don't create karma. Once we don't create karma, then we aren't bound by the world, all right? We aren't bound by life and death, okay? So Tao is the priority, and we want to act accordingly, all right? Know to develop and practice our virtues to the utmost, okay? So again, Tao, right? So the truth, the principles that we learn, right? We need to follow that. Okay, follow those. Learn it and then practice, apply it in daily life. Again, we have to use our wisdom, right? Principles, although they are broad, right? See, remember we talked about knowledge before. We can learn ways to, like methods, right? But those are limited, right? Because they don't necessarily apply to every situation. Whereas the principles, they can apply to every situation, but we have to use our wisdom in how to apply it to every situation. Okay, so that is we want to do that, right? And then so know to develop and practice our virtues, right, to the utmost. Again, to that utmost sincerity. Okay, so again, do it to the more sincere we are, the more you can say that the more closer we are to heaven, the closer we are to the Buddhas, right? That sincere heart. That's really the key, okay? In everything that we do, be very sincere, okay? And basically, showing our true heart, our true nature, okay? Improve one's virtues, refine one's achievements, and be a role model, right? Go with the flow and transform people, okay? Basically improving, right? Again, we want to develop these virtues, nurture our virtues, right? Refine our achievements, in what we do, performing merits, right? We want to be, we are a role model. I mean, people will look at us, say, we're a Tao, we're a Tao member or whatever, then we have to act like one, right? Behave like one, so that when people see that, they see, wow, this person is so virtuous, then, they'll trust us, they can follow us, right? So that's how we can introduce people to receive the Tao. Otherwise, it would be very difficult. And then going with the flow, right? So what that means is, it doesn't mean that we be like people, normal people, okay? But we have to be immersed amongst normal people, right? We can't be like being an ivory tower, right? Separate from everyone. So it's like the way that people cultivated in the past, they separated from society. They had to leave society, right? They'd be a monk, go to a monastery or go to a cave in a mountain, right? But today is different, right? So we have to be immersed within society. This is the white era.
Yeah, how do you transform people? You can't be
Yeah.
in a mountain. Who cares?
Right.
Nobody knows.
Right.
Nobody knows about you. If Buddha just happily became enlightened, he just stayed in the mountain. Will we have all the sutras? Will we have Buddha's teachings?
Right.
No, nobody probably knows who he is or what, right? So you have to be, he said go with the flow. That means enter the stream.
Right.
Enter the stream of humanity, of
Right.
society.
Right.
That's what it means, go with the flow.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you do bad things like the bad. No, doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that. Understand?
Right.
Yeah.
And so, so we don't follow the ways of society necessarily, right? But we have to be able to be amongst the people, right? So that people don't think that we're weird or different, right? We have to be humble as well. I mean, if we're arrogant, then people aren't going to avoid us too. So even though we shouldn't feel like we're superior, okay, just because we received this Tao, that's arrogance. Okay, so we know that this is the way. I mean, but we want to share it with people, right? So, but we shouldn't do it in a way say, oh, your religion, it's no good. You have to follow the Tao, right? That won't get you anywhere. So basically, we try to let them understand that this Tao is. I mean, religions are good. They teach people to be good. But the Tao is, you can say, the quickest way, the most expedient way to transcend the cycle of life and death. Okay, so so then that's how we can transform people. Again, it's also through our virtues as well. Okay, and during this white era, we have this. You can say we also have a duty to help transform this world by guiding people to receive the Tao, to cultivate along this path. All right. Encourage oneself to be temperate, restrained, gentle, magnanimous. Okay. Do not be proud or arrogant, stingy, mean, or frivolous. Okay. So again, that's what we're just saying. So if we're temperate, we're restrained, gentle, magnanimous, then of course people will they'll like us, they'll want to be around us, and also when we have virtues, right? But if we're the opposite, then people will stay away from us. So then that's it doesn't serve the purpose. Okay, we cannot fulfill our duty. All right. Okay. So make constant progress in nurturing virtues. Insist on upholding the principles in daily life. Right. So even though mundane customs come and go, right? Forever maintain the original heart to present to heaven. All right. So basically, constantly nurture those virtues, right? Don't think that, I'm good enough. We're never good enough. We're not like a Buddha yet, right? So there's always room for improvement, always room to develop our virtues. We have to uphold these principles in our everyday life, right? Tao cultivation is in daily life. It's not just coming to the temple, right? And then when you leave the temple, you go home, you go into work, society, it's that the Tao is all there too. We have to use the principles that we learn here, apply it in those situations. Okay. Now the things. So we talk about the customs of society, of the world, right? They can change. They're subject to change. They can come and go. But we want to maintain that original heart. Follow the principles. These principles that we learned, they never change. Okay. So ultimately, when we go back, right, when we leave this world, again, we don't bring the material things with us, right? That's not what we present to God or to heaven. We present our what? Sincerity, our virtues. Those are the things that we want to present. So the greater our virtues, the greater our sincerity, that's what heaven wants to see. Okay, so that's what we want. And in fact, that was our original nature. Our original heart was like that. And so, when we came from heaven, that's the way it was. But then we kind of lost our way. And so we need to restore that original heart to that divine heart, the divine nature, then when we go back. Okay, so then, that's how we can, it's also to, you can say that is a fundamental thing that we need to do. It's not like looking for some kind of reward to do that. We should do that. That's something that we should be doing. Okay. And then whether the situation is good or bad, right, the heart and mind is always unimpeded. Our divine nature is clear, bright, and sanguine and optimistic. Okay. So again, we don't depend on the situation or the circumstances. It could be good or bad. Doesn't matter, right? Or if we have that pure heart and mind, that straight heart and mind, basically that sincere heart, that true nature, right? When it's revealed, then it's not going to be influenced by that. It's not going to be blocked by, when we have depending on the situation. Okay, so our divine nature is very clear, it's bright, sanguine, it's optimistic. So that's also, we tend to, we have have that proper view of things, that we should always be optimistic, always look on the bright side of things, right? Just like I think it mentioned in the song, that if we have that, really our reality is created or influenced by our mind. Okay, so what's in our heart and mind? Our mindset, right? if we are always looking pessimistic, well, then of course our reality is going to be pessimistic. Okay, so it's not the other way around. It's not that, oh, because the situation is bad that I'm pessimistic. It's actually because well, you can say maybe that's the way it seems, but because we have that pessimism, then it's a feedback loop. It's a cycle. Okay, then it becomes, then it just fulfills that way. So because our mind is very powerful, it's our Buddha nature really. So whatever our mind thinks, that becomes reality. So that's why we have to be careful. So always look on the bright side of things, look on the optimistic side. When we're optimistic, then yeah, we can overcome these obstacles, these difficulties. If we're not, then of course we give up, right? So we definitely have the right mindset, okay? All right, so how can one be influenced by circumstances, right? There's no confusion by following the way of the saints and sages, right? So that's what we're just saying. Oops. Okay. All right. So there is strength in the heart of Tao, full of divine wisdom. One will not be apprehensive. Okay. So yeah. Oh, okay. And then, so the previous line, following the ways of saints, sages, right, and the Buddhas, their teachings. Why those teachings have lasted for thousands of years? Because they speak to the truth. Okay. The truth stands the test of time, right? So. Those principles that they're talking about are talking about the truth, and so we will not go wrong by following them. So we really do need to learn those classics, learn those scriptures and sutras, learn from them, and follow those ways. Okay, it's just that maybe a lot of times some of the scriptures, right, because they are all expedient means, okay, of teaching. In other words, they teach according to the time, to the place, to the people, right. So they might talk about customs and traditions at that time and place, but that are different from today. But the principles behind it, the essence, that's why we have to understand the essence, the principles, not just the words themselves that talk about the superficial aspect, right? We have to get to the true meaning, and then we understand how to apply those in today's situation, today's world, okay? So that's where, using the wisdom again. So a lot of people, they blindly accept the word as the truth, but the word is not the truth, okay? It's pointing at the truth, and we have to understand that what it's pointing at, okay? All right? So again, having that wisdom. So we won't be apprehensive, we won't be confused. So once we understand that truth, that true essence, the principles, then we won't be confused in any situation, when the circumstances arise. Then we'll use that wisdom to apply it properly, okay? So with a determined heart and mind, who can stop you, right? That's as opposed to the hypocritical practice, which does not last. Okay, so again, sincerity, right? So if we're determined to know the truth, understand it, follow it, no one can stop us. Okay, so no matter what the obstacles are, we'll overcome and we'll continue on our way. Now, the hypocritical practice, basically, you can say if we're insincere about it, that's being hypocritical as well, because we might talk about one thing, but we don't really follow through sincerely and do it. So, again, that doesn't last. So we cannot continue on that path forever. We won't be able to succeed, okay, on that path. So we have to be sincere, again, all right? After nurturing... after nurturing for a long time, right? Honesty, sincerity, and compassion will be more fragrant, or it'll be more beautiful. Okay, basically we have to nurture, and it takes time, of course, to nurture these virtues: our honesty, our sincerity, compassion, right? All these things. It takes time to do that, but as long as we have that determination, that will to want to do it, then we can succeed, right? Again. Be optimistic, be sanguine, right? So those are the qualities that we need, the right mindset we have to succeed, okay? The mundane passions, right? Love and desires, they cause us to wither. Never again rush about blindly in ignorance, again, okay? So again, now that we learn the truth, we understand these principles, don't let the worldly passions, desires, matters, anything, lead us astray and causing us to wither. Basically, we're not going to become enlightened. We're not going to fulfill our goal of becoming enlightened. So we shouldn't rush about blindly in ignorance. Okay, so that's one of the three poisons, right? So we have to get rid of that ignorance, have the proper views, proper understanding. Never forget the purity and stillness of our divine nature or heart. Okay, virtue can save a perilous world. Okay, so the purity and stillness of our divine nature or our heart. Okay, so that is, always keep that in mind, that our virtues stem from there. Okay, so the more we develop our virtues, the more we get rid of that self, that ego, right? The closer we get to that purity and stillness of that divine heart and mind. Okay, and it is through these virtues. So once we have that, we can express these virtues, manifest these virtues, and that is how we can save the world, save people, right? In this dangerous world, right? Things happen. There's terrorists. There are all sorts of things that are happening. Natural calamities. How can we save this world? It's not through wealth, not through those things, but through our virtues, through using our wisdom. Okay. Right, Mencius says we save a drowning world with the Tao, right, or through the way, right, and that part of that way is through our virtues. Okay, when body and mind is undisturbed or settled, one can make use of what heaven bestows, right, full of energy and endless joy. So, again, we always limit ourselves, right? We limit ourselves because we think, oh, this is I am made of this physical body, and I have certain abilities. I have certain, and plus, our mindset, our thinking, our way of thinking. These are things that limit us, our senses. But actually, when it's calm and still, right, then our Buddha nature can be revealed. Our wisdom can be revealed. Then that is boundless. Okay, that you can say that has infinite ability, and so we want to make use of that. That's what heaven bestowed upon us. It's full of infinite energy. It's full of endless joy, right? If we can grasp onto that and make use of that, then of course we can not only we change our own lives, we change the lives of others, change the world as well. Okay, so so that's the whole block of the scripture, and then so again those two words, the Zixing, the pure or straight heart, is that scripture within the scripture, the main theme of it. Again, this goes back to the first few lines on page 4. Basically, the pure or straight heart is the true Tao field of cultivation, a field of utmost sincerity and magnanimity. Okay, again, that's the selfless heart, right? The true sincerity is being one with everything, being one with everyone, right? Being that oneness. Build up a profound tolerance and magnanimity, forthright and sincere without pretense. Maintain this divine nature and heart for eternity, right? So that is what we want to, that is the heart of the Buddha. So that's what we want. If we want to attain Buddhahood, that's the heart that we want to maintain, okay? So that's basically the main message, right? So being selfless, being magnanimous, tolerant, being generous, being forgiving, right? Being very honest, straightforward. These are all ways to describe that Buddha heart, that Buddha nature. Okay. So let me see. Is there anything else I want to add here? Is there any questions about any of that?
Do you have any questions?
Now, of course, like the virtues, there are many virtues, and the Buddha's always emphasized filial piety as the main virtue. That's, when we talk about the Tao or the way of heaven, right? The way of the Buddhas, right? But we have to, in order to achieve that, we have to achieve the way of humanity first, right? Because we're all human, right? So the humans, we have human virtues. So the first and foremost is filial piety, right? So just like we say, oh, I I believe in God, right? I pray to God, I worship God. God is like our spiritual, you can say our spiritual mother or spiritual parent, if you will. But we also have physical parents, right? So again, how we worship God, we should essentially worship our parents the same way. I mean, treat our parents in the same way, with respect, with love, all that, right? So that's why filial piety is the most important virtue, right? If we cannot be filial to our parents, then, basically, how can we be filial to God, right? And how can we really manifest any other virtues to any other person, any people? Okay, so that's why it all starts with filial piety, really. If we can treat our parents well, plus then the Buddha's heaven will look after us if we are filial. Okay, heaven will, of course, because that is the way of heaven, and so heaven will help us if we are filial. Okay, so that's important.
So actually, the two words also alludes to the platform sutra. There is the poem of the non-poem, 无相颂, and the first sentence starts with 直心和虚持戒. If we have this pure heart, then we don't have to practice any precepts, any regulations, because we already have all those rules and regulations within us.
Yeah, right. So again, it's not external, right? The truth is not external. So even though we're learning from the scriptures and the teachings of the enlightened people, the beings, saints and sages, but again, they're pointing to the truth that's actually inside each of us. So we have to understand. So that true heart, that straight or that pure heart has the truth. So if we follow our conscience, that is the truth. We follow that truth. We don't need the laws to tell us what's right and wrong, right? Because the conscience knows. It already knows to do what's proper. Okay, so that's why there's no reliance on the external, right? Once you don't have to rely on external, because some people, if they're practicing, let's say they're practicing religion, they tend to follow the scriptures, the precepts, right? The rules, the commandments, right? They follow it to the letter. But outside of those, if it's not covered by these things, then what do? They don't know what to follow, right? What we follow is actually, these are just pointing to us the principles behind it, right? That we should follow, right? That we can apply them to any situation. It's not just laid out in the 10 Commandments that, these are the things that we can't do, and then we find loopholes that, that doesn't cover this situation, so I can do whatever I want, right? So it's not like that, right? So we have to understand that our conscience those principles are inside, that we follow those, okay? And they can apply to any situation. Right?
Follow your Buddha nature.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's why we have to understand what is our Buddha nature, right? Because if you don't understand it, then you don't know what to follow, right? Right? You're just following the words of a scripture or 10 Commandments, whatever. But those are limited. That's not the truth that's in there. Because there's no way. Look how many laws we have. We have infinite number of laws. You can fill up the whole Library of Congress. Still not enough. There's a bunch of laws in there. So because laws are only there for specific situations. And how many situations are there? Infinite. So there are infinite laws.
Yeah, right.
See, that's impossible. So that's not the way, that's not the correct way. Get it? That's not the way of the Tao. The Tao way is to say, follow your Buddha nature. Yeah, so that's why we have to cultivate. That's what we have to learn. That's what we have to learn.
Yeah, learn and practice, right?
That's
learn and
what we have to learn.
practice.
熏习, right? Didn't we say
熏习, 熏习.
That's one way. The other way was mentioned is to let go.
Yeah, right.
But that's part of learning.
That's part of it. That's part of the,
learning. You
yeah,
learn to let go. You
so
learn to let go too.
the
Right?
learning,
Learn
the
to-
cultivation,
to
the practice,
cultivate.
right?
So
Those
that's
are,
why we have to learn. We have to study, right? People say, "Oh no, I know." Well, maybe not. Maybe yes. Maybe not. So that's why we have to learn. That's why we come to class. That's why we read the scriptures. That's why we listen to the tapes, right?
well, yeah, not just to learn. I mean, to truly learn means to practice too.
Right. You have to
I mean, if we
practice.
just say, I know, but I don't do it, then
That's
you
not-
don't know. Then you didn't learn anything,
that-
right?
that's not
so
true learning.
that's not
That's
true
not
learning,
true
right? So So again, so
Learn and
take what we
practice.
learn and then practice it. And then so over time, we'll get better at it. And we'll gradually have let go of all these things. And then so that we can get to there. Okay, all right. All right, so thank you. If I had said anything wrong, I asked the Buddhist for forgiveness and also for your correction.